Hi, this is Michelle, and I call myself the scribe for collective consciousness. And the reason why I call myself that is because, well, that's what I got in a message that's what my guides refer to me as, the scribe for collective consciousness. Why the word scribe? The word scribe because a scribe is someone that takes down or records messages, and that's what I do. So I want to share with you today, this is something that I put together, and I gave this material as a class for a group that I have that gets together once a month. But I wanted to share it here. And so here goes. This is a video about why and how to develop your CLAIR senses. And it has to do with the CLAIRs, as you will come to see. So here goes. About 16 years ago, I had a profound awakening experience. Suddenly, I was seeing beings from my bedroom at night and hearing sounds that I knew weren't there. I also wondered what my husband would think about all of this. Since then, I have been extremely driven to develop myself and to learn about metaphysical concepts. I learned how to meditate and have since had a rewarding daily practice. Over the years, I've taken many steps in my self-development, and that includes traditional shamanic journeys with plant medicine. I've also had in-person visitations from spirit beings, even in broad daylight. And here's another part that I wanted to share, and it's about pitfalls. I want to share about a pitfall that I fell into that slowed down my development. Even though I sought to build my connection with my guides, I didn't recognize that I actually was developing and getting messages from spirit. Yes, I recognized it sometimes, but not most of the time. After years of receiving messages, it wasn't until I started to write down the messages that my guides gave me that I was able to draw the conclusion about who these messages were from. Meaning, I thought the revelations that I was getting were from me, from Michelle. In my inexperience, I didn't realize that the messages were coming from spirit. In my denial that I was getting spirit communications, I was suppressing my spiritual growth from what I had sought all those years ago. I mentioned that it was my effort of writing down the intuition that I got that ended up breaking this spell of denial that I had. Realizing this really helped me to open my flow. 3 years ago or so, my guide started to prep me that my father was going to make his transition. Dad was active, robust, so I had no reason to take their warning seriously, but it did happen. Within less than 24 hours of his passing, I started getting messages related to Dad. The first message was a song from Kenny Rogers. The lyrics said, "The best that you can hope for is to die in your sleep," which was how my father transitioned. I'm telling you about my experience with my dad because it ties with the tips that I will be sharing in a couple of minutes. Then I started to get visions of Dad on the other side of the veil, like of him learning the ropes of this new realm. I also had a vision of Dad being greeted by a deceased cousin. I perceived this as if it was through my own eyes, like he was greeting me instead of greeting my father. I had many mystical experiences with Dad, like the time I was with my husband in his car, watching the sunrise. Suddenly, the car radio turned on by itself, and it started playing a meaningful song that was special for Dad and I. I once got a vision of him hugging me, and I was actually able to feel his embrace as if he was still in his flesh suit. And another time I perceived him taking my hand in his, and I could feel that I could feel it as if he was still around. I have seen Dad in broad daylight countless times since then. At least once a week, it seems. He shows himself to me at many different stages of his life, as he looked at many different stages of his life. And the most magical one happened a month ago. I'm not going to go into that here, but it was pretty amazing. I was clarified that at the time of my father's passing, he had been given a choice to stay here or to transition. That if he chose to transition, he would suddenly be much more influential to those that he loved. He chose the latter, and he became one of my guides. And now we get to why we are here today. I want to share some tips on how you can awaken your own psychic software. I share what I am about to tell you with another person from the group. And this is what she said to me afterward. She said, and her name's Lorraine, I have her permission to share her testimonial. She said here, "Thank you so much. I had a miraculous weekend after we met and have been really gifted with acknowledging your insights and listening to my guidance more actively." That's what she said. Thank you, Lorraine. So our souls wanted to experience life in a physical form or an avatar. Pre-birth, the higher self and our guides' help created our story or the plot of our life. When we were born, and because of the veil, we suddenly forgot this story. And to add to it, we now had free will to choose and do as we wanted. We all have a higher self, guides, and ancestors that closely monitor and assist in our life experience. They have a bird's eye view, and they try to get our attention every way they can. Songs, feelings, messages, synchronicities, etc. These guides try to ensure that we are on our soul's path or our story as much as possible. To accomplish this, they use our senses, and I'm not talking about our physical senses like eyesight, taste, hearing, touch, smell. These physical senses cause us to perceive things that are materialized in our three-dimensional experience. What our guides use is our CLAIR senses. It is with our CLAIR senses that we perceive energetic interpretations that go beyond the material 3D realm to the spirit realm. We all have CLAIR senses, and they often work with our 3D senses. Like the example I shared a moment ago of me feeling the embrace of my deceased father, while at the same time seeing the vision of it playing out in my mind's eye. You don't hear your guides with your physical ears. When you see a ghost, it's not with your physical eyes. Think of the CLAIRs as a software upgrade. CLAIR means clear. The CLAIRs are used every time spirit is involved. Unless you can distinguish between your regular thoughts and feelings and when your CLAIRs are being engaged, you may not even be aware that you are getting communication. Every day, if you did an action but you told yourself that you were not doing that action, it would be hard for you to develop. It's a form of self-denial or suppression that seems to be widespread with humans, a form of self-gaslighting. It's through our physical senses that we perceive things that are materialized in our three-dimensional experience, but it is through our CLAIR senses that we perceive communications or experiences from the non-material spirit realm. Every brilliant idea that you get, that idea did not originate from your thoughts. When you suddenly have a deep understanding or a solution to a problem, the moment you received that intel, your higher self or your guides were engaging one or more of your CLAIR senses. You were being a clear receiver from that CLAIR sense software. When you get an idea like an intuition, that idea did not come to you because you were thinking it. Mundane thoughts. The human brain thinks mundane thoughts or thoughts that you have thought before. That is the extent of the human thinking brain mechanism. Brain thoughts are more like autopilot or habitual thinking, habitual things that you had thought before. The way it works for me, my guides show me videos in my mind's eye using clairvoyance, and it is often accompanied by a knowing, which is claircognizance, also called clair-knowing. This is how our guides communicate with us while we abide in the material plane of existence. I now recognize that when I am suddenly seeing a video playing out on the screen of my mind, that it's a direct communication from my guides. This means pay attention. If I get a knowing, it's a communication from my higher self. Excuse me. And I'm now going to read about each of the main clairs. And these are just the primary clairs. Then I will share some tips with you. The following is my tip that I came here to share with you. I'm sorry, I'm not going to read about the clairs. Skip that. Okay, so this is the tip that I'm going to share with you. The next time you get a great idea or intuition, pay attention to how you experienced it. When you get a beautiful idea, however it was that you just received it, however it was that you sensed that idea, that is your clair. The clair that is the easiest for your guides to use to communicate with you. And once you are more attuned with it, so I'm sorry, that wasn't clear what I just said. Let me just reread that last sentence. When you get a beautiful idea, however it was that you just received it, however it was that you sensed that idea, that is your clair, the clair that is the easiest for your guides to use to communicate with you, that you are more attuned with. That clair was being demonstrated at that moment. Once you determine which clair you are more dominant in, you can start noticing every time you get a good idea or something like a feeling that catches your attention. You will start to recognize that you are already receiving direct communications from your spirit team. In the past, you probably have been experiencing your good ideas to your thinking brain. This flawed premise prevents people from growing to their potential. Remember, I said earlier that I was in denial from my own advancement. About my own advancement. This is a common obstacle that needs to be overcome if you want to open your flow. Once you can distinguish between your physical senses or when your clair senses are being engaged, you will develop clear communications. You will then be able to acknowledge the spirit communication and even give thanks to your spirit team. This will help to grow and open new pathways that have been in front of you all along, waiting for you to upgrade. Another tip to try when you want to receive messages from spirit: in a quiet room, put on blindfolds and earplugs. In effect, you are turning off your 3D physical senses, and in so doing, allowing your clair senses to take center stage. Sometimes I get stronger and clearer messages this way. The fastest way to develop your clairs is with commitment. Become willing to pay attention to the subtle things and to try to distinguish between them. Having a willingness to direct your attention to figure out which clair or psychic sense you are using will develop your abilities in a very self-empowering way. You may already have a feeling or a knowing about which clair you are dominant in. Another way to figure it out is through self-awareness. Our clair senses make us divination tools. Do you find yourself saying things like, I just knew it, or I feel like we should not take that trip? You may even have heard voices in your mind that you are not sure did not come from you. That you are sure did not come from you. These are clues about what your natural gifts are. The more you use your clairs, the easier it gets. Keep a journal of when you receive an intuitive hit. Then review it regularly to see if your information was accurate or close. Do not get caught up when you are wrong. It takes practice just like any other skill. How to develop clairvoyance or clear vision. So earlier I said I wasn't going to go into what the primary clairs are. I'm going to do it now at this point. So be on the lookout for images that pop into your mind out of the blue. They may be intuitive messages, images, lights, colors, and many movies playing out in your mind. Be patient, your intuition will grow over time. So for me, it's like it plays right at this part of my field of vision. I realize that suddenly a movie is playing, and I might even be driving as I get this secondary movie. So I have the movie screen of my regular vision, and then I suddenly have a movie playing out right in this field of vision in the upper sort of right hand side. And so that's how it plays out for me. And how to develop clairaudience or clear hearing. Reading about the clairs or intuition actually opens up your own intuition and clairaudient potential. If you hear a message that is not from you, pay attention. You can even engage the voice. It's as a question, but be easy about the reply. Stay relaxed about it. How to develop clairsentience or clear feeling. Whenever you get a strong intuitive feeling about something, write it down in a journal or a notepad, like I did. Over the next few weeks or months, you will realize how many clairsentient messages you will get from your intuition. Beginning to recognize these messages will help you to develop more of them. How to develop claircognizance or clear knowing. The next time you are trying to figure something out, silently ask your intuition to give you the answer through claircognizance, And when you do get a knowing, pay attention, write it down. Review it a week or so later to see how this knowing played out. And I have a beautiful quote here that I'm going to share that unfortunately I don't know who wrote it. It says, God is a sound frequency, and we can all tune in if we just listen. Some find the way through different melodies, but it's all music. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this. Thank you very much. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share what I have learned, and it is my sincerest desire that every one of you develop your own rapport with your unique spirit team so that each of you can grow closer to your own potential. And thank you very much.